Hi, fourth and some fifth graders. Today we are going to be doing the comprehension questions for chapter 17 and chapter 18 of Matilda. Chapter 17, we read Miss Honey's story, and that's where we learned a little bit more about Miss Honey and her past. And we learned that her mom died when she was 2, her dad died when she was 5, mysteriously. Well, they claim that he killed himself, but she doesn't necessarily believe it. And during this time, her aunt had been living with her, and her aunt was mean and dreadful and treated her horribly. And after her father died, her aunt became the person in charge of her, the one looking after her, and also got the house. And basically, Miss Honey says that she's made to be the slave. So Miss Honey is the slave in the household, apparently, and it isn't great. So then she grows up and her aunt says, I bought you food and clothes all these years. You now owe me thousands of dollars. In order for that to happen, you are to give me most of your paycheck each week. And so that's why Miss Honey is living so poorly. She doesn't have money for food. She doesn't have money for furniture. She's living in a house that has no bathroom, no kitchen, and just not a lot. And in the end, we find out that Miss Honey's aunt is actually Miss Trunchbull. And then chapter 18 was called The Names, where Matilda and Miss Honey agree not to speak of this anymore. But Matilda has 3 questions. The first question is, what did Miss Trunchbull call your father? And that was Magnus. The second question was, what did your father call Miss Trunchbull? And that was Agatha. And the last question is, what did both of them call you? And that was Jenny. And Miss Honey goes, why does she need to know this? And she's like, please be careful and don't do anything crazy. This is kind of what we learned. Now, the quick write, we're going to get started. Remember, you can pause the video whenever you need to and just hit play whenever you're done with your writing. The first step is the quick write. Do you have any aunts or uncles? If so, write about them. If not, describe another relative. So like for me, I have many aunts and uncles. I would maybe pick a couple. So there's my Aunt Diane. She's the one I'm closest to. She's actually the only one that lives in Minnesota. I could describe her. I could say my other one that I really love is my Aunt Bev. She's a lot of fun. She lives in Wisconsin. So you describe them, maybe what you love about them. You don't have to write about all of them. You don't need to know about my 10 aunts and uncles. But you can pick 1 or 2, or you can write about all of them. So just do 2 to 3 sentences about your aunts and uncles. If you don't have any, which is okay, maybe tell them about your grandma or someone else in your family. Maybe it's someone you consider to be family. So I know that I have Grandma Karen and Grandma Sandy. They're not actually my grandparents, but they're the closest things to real grandparents for me. So I say that Grandma Sandy and Grandma Karen are my grandparents, but they're really not. So I could describe them that way. They're actually my best friend's grandparents, but they've taken me under the wing. They act as my grandparents, so I could write about them. So do 2 to 3 sentences here. Now we're going to go on to our vocabulary section. Our 3 words are right here. First word is rigid, which means like stiff. Like if you're, like I say, like if I'm really scared or nervous, like I sit really, like your muscles get tense, you are rigid. Or you could say like a board is rigid, like stiff. Petrified, which means scared. And triumph is like a victory, like you won. So let's fill in the blanks with the correct word as we go. Pause when you need to take time to write. Number 1. Because the cardboard was so blank, it was difficult to fold the way I wanted. So, because it was so what? It was hard to fold. Would that be because it's rigid? Because it's petrified, which means scared, because it's triumph or victory. I hope you all get that one because it's a kind of easy one. So write that word on the line. Pause if you need to. Number 2, the little girl is blank of spiders, so she screams and runs whenever she sees one. This describes me, but right now it's ticks. I'm seeing a lot of ticks, and they make me very rigid, petrified, or triumph. So which one means that you're scared? Basically just gave you that one with my hint. And number 3, when they realized they had won the big game, the baseball team cheered in frigid, Cheered in rigid, cheered in petrified, or cheered in triumph? Write the 3 words on the lines and hit play when you are ready to run. I'm gonna move this down the best I can. Okay, we've got 2 multiple choice questions for today. Number 1, why did Miss Honey end up living with her aunt? I just reviewed this at the beginning of this video, so I hope that you all remember it. A, her parents left her, like they just packed up and left her. B, her parents died. C, her aunt kidnapped her. Or D, her aunt hired her. So why did Miss Honey end up living with her aunt? You should all get this one right because I just reviewed it in the first 4 minutes of this video. Number 2, what is Miss Trunchbull's first name? I also reviewed this in the beginning of the video. You're getting lucky today. A, Jennifer. B, Matilda. If you select B, that's a big issue. C, Magnus. Or D, Agatha. So if you're forgetful on that one, rewind to the beginning of this video because I did go over that when I talked about what chapter 18 was about, the names. So answer those 2 questions and then flip the packet over for our 3 comprehension questions. Number 1, explain why Miss Honey is so poor. I want you to do 2 sentences here. I'll write that on there for you. 2 sentences. I can't write today. There we go. 2 sentences about why Miss Honey is poor. I also reviewed that a little at the beginning of this video, but if you remember more, feel free to add it on there. So why is she living the way she is? What led to that? Think back to the aunt. It's my hint again for you. Pause this video here to write your sentences and then hit play when you're ready. Number 2, what does Miss Honey describe as her greatest triumph? What is her greatest victory? She did something. Imagine she is enslaved. She is stuck with this aunt, and she did something that was her biggest victory. Especially think about our previous chapter about this cottage and how previously she'd been stuck with her aunt. So what was her greatest victory? You just need 1 sentence here. Tell me what it is. Tell me what it was. Okay. And our last one, there's going to be no wrong answer. So no matter what you write here, as long as it's pertaining to the book, it should be correct. Number 3 is predict what will happen next. What do you think is going to happen next? Matilda's getting these names, and you know she has something she's plotting. She's thinking of something. So what do you think is going to happen next? I want you to put 2 sentences. Now, if you've seen the movie, I want you to remember that the book is sometimes, actually very often, different than the movie. A lot of times the book comes first. They write this book. And then someone's like, this would be a great idea for a movie, which I agree. And they make the movie. But in order to make the movie, they tweak and change stuff. So it's not exactly how the author wrote the book. So even if you've seen the movie, what happens in the book might be different. Now, it's been a long time since I've seen the movie and read the book together. So I honestly can't tell you if I remember if they're exactly the same or not. I know some books are very, very different. Like Percy Jackson and Lightning Theme is extremely different, the movie is, from the book. And it bugs me. But other books like Where the Red Fern Grows, which we read as 5th graders, stay very, very true to each other. So this one might be somewhere different. So I want you to go with what we've been reading. Based on what we've been reading together, what do you think is going to happen? What do you think Matilda's going to do with her powers and all that too? Okay, your only task, well, you might be doing... So your only task for today is to do these comprehension questions. I double check because there's some days where I'm having you double up on tasks. Do these 2 pages and let me know if you have any questions. I hope everything's going well and that you're enjoying this book. Bye.